The Galactic Council had seen many fearsome warriors, but none quite like Admiral Diana Voss. Standing at 6 feet tall with steel-gray eyes that could pierce through the hull of a battlecruiser, she commanded the respect of every species across the known universe. The Zephyrians trembled at her tactical brilliance. The crystalline collective acknowledged her strategic superiority, and even the ancient ethereals spoke her name with reverence. Adnan Khan, however, was completely oblivious to all of this as he floated unconscious in the escape pod's emergency stasis field. The Sovereign's Wrath, Diana's flagship, had intercepted the distress beacon from a destroyed human cargo vessel near the outer rim. Pirates had been increasingly bold lately, but attacking civilian ships was a new low even for them. As the massive dreadnought's tractor beam pulled in the small escape pod, Diana found herself curious about the sole survivor. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic stage, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 50 years ago. Most species initially dismissed them as another primitive race, but Diana had learned better. She'd witnessed human ingenuity firsthand during the Vortan crisis, when a human engineer had jury-rigged a quantum drive using nothing but spare parts and what he called good old-fashioned stubbornness. The medical bay doors hissed open as Diana entered, her polished boots clicking against the deck plates. The human male lay on the biobed, vital signs stable but unconscious. He appeared young, perhaps in his mid-20s, with dark hair and olive skin. The medical scanner indicated he'd suffered from oxygen deprivation and minor radiation exposure, but nothing that couldn't be treated. Admiral, Chief Medical Officer Zaltek approached, his forearms working efficiently at a holographic display. The human should regain consciousness within the hour. His ship's logs indicate he's a cargo specialist named Adnan Khan, employed by the Terra Freight Consortium. Diana nodded, studying the unconscious man's face. There was something peaceful about him, a stark contrast to the chaos he'd undoubtedly experienced. Any word on the attackers? Long gone, Admiral. They hit fast and vanished into the nebula sector. Cowards, the lot of them. As if summoned by their conversation, Adnan's eyes fluttered open. He blinked several times, adjusting to the bright medical bay lights before his gaze settled on Diana. For a moment, neither spoke. Am I dead? Adnan asked finally, his voice hoarse. Because if this is heaven, it's a lot more high-tech than I expected. Diana raised an eyebrow. You're aboard the Sovereign's Wrath. I'm Admiral Diana Voss, Terran Colonial Fleet. You're safe. Adnan attempted to sit up, wincing slightly. Admiral Voss? The Admiral Voss? The one who single-handedly held off the Keltar invasion at Proxima Station? The very same, Diana replied, a hint of pride in her voice. Though I hardly did it single-handedly. Right, yeah, sorry. Adnan paused, studying her face with an intensity that made Diana slightly uncomfortable. She was used to looks of fear, respect, or admiration from subordinates and enemies alike. But this was different. You're a lot cuter than the holovids make you out to be. The medical bay fell silent. Even the gentle hum of the biobed seemed to quiet. Chief Medical Officer Zalthek's four eyes widened, in what could only be described as terror. Admiral Diana Voss, the woman who had stared down Keltar war chiefs without flinching, the tactical genius who had outmaneuvered entire fleets, the iron-willed commander who had never shown weakness in the face of any enemy, felt her cheeks burn with what she desperately hoped wasn't a visible blush. What? She stammered, her usual commanding tone nowhere to be found. Adnan seemed to realize what he'd said, his own face reddening. Oh no. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry, Admiral. I think I might still be oxygen-deprived. People probably don't usually call the galaxy's most feared military commander cute, do they? Diana opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. She, who had delivered stirring speeches to rally entire fleets, couldn't form a coherent sentence. Her hands fidgeted with her uniform insignia, a nervous habit she thought she'd abandoned decades ago. Sir, Zaltek interjected carefully, perhaps I should check the human for head trauma? No! Both Diana and Adnan exclaimed simultaneously, then looked at each other in surprise. That is, Diana cleared her throat, attempting to regain her composure. Mr. Khan appears to be functioning normally, just effects from the ordeal. But Adnan wasn't done, whether from lingering effects of his oxygen deprivation or simply because he'd already crossed the line. He continued, I mean, don't get me wrong, Admiral. You're absolutely terrifying in the best possible way. The stories they tell about you in the outer colonies, But you've got this smile, and when you're not doing that intimidating commander thing, your eyes kind of light up and, Mr. Khan, Diana interrupted, her voice cracking slightly. Perhaps you should rest. Right, yes. Absolutely, Adnan nodded vigorously. I'll just stop talking now. But the damage was already done. As Diana turned to leave the medical bay, she caught her reflection in a polished surface and saw what she'd feared. A genuine smile playing at the corners of her mouth. And yes, her eyes did seem to be lighting up. Over the following days, as the Sovereign's wrath made its way to the nearest starbase, Diana found excuses to check on their guest. Adnan, for his part, seemed determined to dig himself deeper into whatever hole he'd created. He complimented her tactical displays, admired her efficiency reports, and once mortifyingly told her that her authoritative tone during a fleet-wide communication was somehow both commanding and adorable. The bridge crew had learned to busy themselves with suddenly urgent tasks whenever these interactions occurred. On the final day before reaching the starbase, Diana found Adnan in the observation lounge staring out at the stars. She approached quietly, but he sensed her presence. "Admiral," he said without turning around, "I wanted to thank you, not just for the rescue, but for being patient with my verbal catastrophes." "Think nothing of it," Diana replied, moving to stand beside him, "though I admit it's been educational." Adnan turned to face her, and Diana was struck again by the genuine warmth in his expression. "Can I ask you something? And I promise this time I'll think before I speak." Diana nodded. "Would you maybe like to get coffee sometime? When you're not busy running the galaxy's defense and all?" For the second time in her career, Admiral Diana Voss, conqueror of worlds and terror of pirates, found herself speechless. But this time she managed to nod. As the Sovereign's wrath docked at Starbase Aurora, its crew witnessed something unprecedented. Their unflappable Admiral Diana Voss, walking down the corridor with a spring in her step, and what could only be described as a giggle escaping her lips. The galaxy's strongest admiral had finally met her match, not in battle, but in a cargo specialist who thought she was cute.